How did you get that booty, girl? Woo! Hey, Coach Ashley here at the Critical Bench Compound, and I am joined with beautiful Erin Stern here today. If you guys don't know, I'm sure you do know if you've been with us for a while, but Erin has been at the bench with us a few years ago and now coming back, and she is a two-time Olympian figure competitor, and she has recently transitioned into bikini and now going into Bikini Olympia, which is awesome, in a completely different division. So I just wanted to talk to her today about, well, if you guys don't know, I'm gonna inform you, right? I'm gonna give you the know, is that we know what figure booty looks like, right? Figure booties, you can go ahead.
Yeah, figure booty is athletic. It's flat-ish.
Yeah.
The judges like that athletic hip, so not much curves going on down there. You've got that upside-down triangle, sort of.
Yes, exactly. Into bikini booty, and Erin obviously has done such a fantastic job building her booty to an Olympian level. I mean, she went as a pro and then just kept competing. And the one thing that grew, not only just like with her progression into her physique, but what were her glutes. And I think that also helped feed into it, right? Coming off of stage, winning Texas, which is super awesome, getting ready for next competition, leading into the Olympia. I'm interested to hear, I think that our viewers would like to hear too, is what was the transition like? Obviously going from figure, you know, you kind of retired for a little bit and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna jump into this, and you went a completely different route. But I think you shocked the audience, and those of us, I followed you forever. I was a figure competitor for a little bit, and it's inspiring, but I'd like some insight. Like, you wanna give us some dibs?
Yeah, absolutely, I'd love to. The first thing I would say is that it takes time, right? So the last time I competed in figure was 2014, but I still trained until about 2018 in that figure way. So I didn't do hip thrusts, and if I did, I would do maybe 135 pounds, so not crazy heavy for my other lifts. And taking time and then working on changing the volume of the workouts. So I took all of the volume from my upper body. Judges told me I just had too much mass from figure. So I've dropped about 9 pounds off of my upper body, and I've done that by just doing all of the volume in my lower body. So I've managed to add almost 5 inches to my hips, which is crazy. My body has changed completely, but it probably took 3.5, 4 years total, you know, because last year was my first pro win in bikini, and that was the first year that I actually looked bikini. So from 2018 to 2022, it took a lot of time, right?
Yeah. I would say, you know, I think I saw you on stage at Tampa Pro. When did you compete in Tampa Pro? Was it 2 years ago?
2020.
2020,
Yeah.
okay. So I saw you on stage at Tampa Pro 2020. What was that? What show was that for you for pro?
That was actually my pro debut.
It was your pro debut?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so I remember seeing you then, and even looking at you now, like your waist to your hip ratio.
It's changed.
It's so different. So would you say, like, telling our viewers too, it's like a lot of people are like, well, how did she shrink her waist? Or like, is it optical illusion? Like, would you say that it was like you grew your glutes and your waist got smaller? Or would you say you did something specific to tighten the waist in?
Something specific. So, and I want to touch on macros too.
Yeah.
When I first started with bikini, I actually did a protein fast. So I dropped my protein to 80 grams, and I was consuming almost 400 grams of protein in an attempt to drop muscle. So I didn't want to do I did not want to do excessive cardio. I just wanted to not train my upper body. And because my upper body responded so well, I had to watch indirect training of my lower body. So no goblet squats, no dumbbell deadlifts. And I think in that, my stabilizer muscles did shrink, but then I started doing vacuums and hanging pelvic tilts. So really strengthening that TVA, which is that internal girdle, along with not doing direct and indirect upper body training. So I've managed to bring in the waist, increase the hip size. So yes, you can absolutely change your dimensions with careful training. And a lot of people, you know, want to train how they want to train.
Yeah.
And to me, it was more important to train towards the ideal bikini physique.
I think that touches base on Erin's athleticism and the athlete she is. Like, I'm sure there's a style that she prefers to train, but the athlete in her says, I have to be competitive in this way. So in order to be competitive, I have to train this way. And I think that her knowledge base is extensive. One, being an athlete your entire life, like never stopping, I think it's fed into that too. So I think like for our viewers to take away from this is like, if you want to be great at something, I think if you've ever read the book, The One Thing, like just find that one thing. And just, I think what I'm taking from this is like find one thing and really focus on it and really be a master of it. So you knew you had to grow grow your glutes, so you did. But you also knew that in order to get that shape, you're like, I have to be intentional with what I'm doing, you know, and that antagonist, protagonist, what side am I working, what side am I not? I think that's, and also nutrition. We always talk about nutrition here at the compound. We don't dive into it too much, but it is at the very like top level, like your nutrition is gonna be determine whether you succeed or not. I mean, you can do all the training in the world, you can do all the specialization in the world, but if you don't have, like you said, like you strategically did something with your nutrition to get the results that you did. So if I had to ask you, what's the one movement that you would say, you know what, guys, if I'm gonna give you any little nuggets, take away, and I know this is Erin's secret sauce, I don't wanna pull too much out of her, but if there's one nugget that we can give our listeners to like, I want a booty like Erin Stern, what is that movement that you're gonna give them?
So I'll tell you, it's the hip thrust.
Okay.
But it's also doing the hip thrust properly, right? So you have to think about training the muscle in the shortened position versus training in the lengthened position. So if you're really trying to grow your glutes, you really want to focus on training in that shortened position because you can get a lot more volume in, you don't get as sore. So your hip thrusts, your kickbacks, exercises like that versus squats. I'm not saying don't do squats, but you want to skew more towards hip thrust.
So to break it down real fast, what she means by lengthening and shortening is like your insertion points of your muscles, right? So like when she says like not do squats, like she's not saying do squats, but squats really lengthen the glute versus like a hip thrust is more of a shortened position, whereas you're not getting that lengthening, correct?
Well, yeah, and you're looking at that mid-rep point too. So with the hip thrust, that mid-rep point is in the shortened position. And with the squat, you're going down and that mid-rep point, sorry about the cracking knees. When you go down for the squat, you're actually hitting that lengthened position in that mid-rep point, causing a lot of muscle damage, which is great for building muscle, but we have to pepper it in.
At the booty, I see what she's saying. So mid-rep, like in the middle of the rep, where is that sequence, right? And that's, I get it, okay. Yeah, and as you guys know, we love the hip thrust here at the compound. I think we have like probably over 100 videos on a hip thrust, and I'm pretty sure Erin has done probably 50 of those videos for us and over the years. So hip thrust, that's awesome. Anything else that you wanna add?
Just being careful with the volume, right? So you want to try to space out the training if possible. Trigger sessions can be really valuable. So if you have trouble contracting your glutes, going and doing just some squeezes, some kickbacks, some monster walks with the band, just activate those glutes. The more you activate your glutes, the more they're gonna work throughout the day. Most people have lazy glutes. They're asleep. You know, you get on the treadmill, you walk, or you go to the gym and you lift, but you're not really activating glutes. So if you can get them to activate, build that mind-muscle connection, and you're basically training them all the time.
Yeah, I think that's you hit a very valid point of like lazy glutes, because I've talked about this before, but like mom butt is a thing. And what I tell people, a lot of people don't realize mom butt is a weak pelvic floor, right? So weak up here, and then it's like, my friend, she's posted a video, she just had her second baby, 6 weeks old, and she's like, it's happening, guys, it's happening. And her but it happened to me though too, postpartum. I remember looking in the mirror, I had my newborn baby, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, my back goes into my hamstrings. Like, what is going on? But again, I think I focus more on like building up my core so I could get that mind muscle, because there's a point where I like couldn't contract them, I couldn't get my glutes fired up. And Erin's very technical with her terms too, as far as like mini bands. She's saying using mini bands to activate them and get them fired up. So, you know, like that mind muscle. And believe it or not, I mean, I'm sure you're listening, maybe 50% of our listeners right now, like don't have that mind muscle connection. And it's wild how many people don't. So I think that's a really important key to touch on too, is like getting the mind muscle connection, knowing the activation, and then taking the next step, like you said, and those just adding the volume to it, you know, whether.
And working on isometric exercises before you even lift, right? So you can do isometric glute bridge, single leg glute bridge, and really get that contraction and get them activating, firing, and that way when you go to the hip thrust or you leg press or whatever it might be, you're using those glutes, you're feeling them, you know, versus all quads.
Yeah, or a lot of people, how many of you guys, real fast, think about this, how many of you guys go, oh, Jared raised his hand, go to the gym and automatically you load up the bar and you just go to hip thrust, right? So I just told Erin this before we started filming, that my biggest regret when I was bodybuilding was I didn't focus on my my mobility, right? And my warm up too. To where now my mobility is one thing I focused on postpartum, but I think that the results I've gotten so fast postpartum and jumping back was focusing on mobility, warming up my body, like I call it prime to perform, prime my body to perform. Like even when I go to big box gym now, I am one of the few people, I'm like doing my warm up right there on the side. People are like, what is this girl doing? But I prime my body to perform. And I think that my results obviously have come significantly faster because like you said, like firing up those neurons, firing up the muscles, getting them going, and then you get more out of it too. So yeah, awesome. Well, this is a good chat. Hey, if you guys want some more booty stuff, let us know. But real fast, I'm gonna give you guys something for free. Go ahead, check that pinned comment below. We're gonna give you some jump ropes today. Do you like jump roping?
Absolutely.
It's a great conditioning, it's great movement. All right, free jump ropes. Check out the pinned comment below. Erin Stern, it was great to have you on today.
Great to be here.
And we'll see you guys next time.